Hi, this is Derek Murphy of Creativity.com, helping you become creatively and financially independent. This is part of a 100 question Ask Me Anything. And I'm going through a list of the common questions that people email me about and some of the answers I've given. This one, somebody asked me, I've been offered a publishing contract which I have signed. It is a small publishing house that has limited resources. I have a lot of questions because I will be responsible for much of the process myself, i.e. the cover art, marketing, book reviews, etc. My answer to this question was, have you already signed? And if so, you probably shouldn't sign it. That's not a very good publishing contract. There's a couple kinds of publishers right now. A traditional publisher, they give you money up front, they will do everything for you, and then they earn money based on how much your book sells. And that's great if you can get one, because ideally it means they're invested in helping your book be successful, even though most publishing houses, especially small publishing houses, they're not actually going to do anything to help you market your books. You can't get into bookstores anyway because there's too much competition, and bookstores are only, I mean, they're businesses too, and they're running out of business. The only way to get into a bookstore is to have a best-selling book that's already selling really well so that bookstores know they can sell it. Otherwise, you're not going to get into bookstores, and you don't really want to be in bookstores, because if you focus on being in one little bookstore, that's a very limited place. What you want to be is on the front page of Yahoo, where 10 million people will see you. So you want to focus on those really big wins, usually online spaces. However, sometimes a really big publishing house, if you can get that kind of deal, if they offer you a lot of money, if they help with marketing, then it can be worth it. A small publishing house, I look at a lot of small publishing house websites. They have really ugly websites. They're doing a lot of advertising to get you to their website, but they have ugly websites and they have ugly books. Book design is almost the most important indicator of whether your book will be successful. So if you're signing with a small publishing house, they're probably not going to design your book very well because they're not very good at design. And also they're not very good at marketing. So if they're not good at online marketing and book design, they've got nothing to offer you, except they'll be a project manager. They'll kind of help guide you and tell you what kind of things you need to publish your book, but they're not going to help you make a successful book. Even if they're offering you some money, it's probably not worth it because they're not going to do a good job of publishing your book. Most small publishing houses, I would say that's true. Although if you're building your author platform and not worried about book sales, but you're just worried about building a professional author platform, signing with a small publishing house can be better credibility. And if they're respected and people know about them and you sign with them, it can be worth it even if you don't make as much money, because it gives you better credentials. People will, even though self-publishing is becoming more acceptable, it's still not totally acceptable. And most people who aren't familiar with publishing will say, oh, you got published by a real publisher. That's, better, even if you're not making money. But make sure in your contract, you've got it set up so that the books they sell, you can be building your author platform so that you won't need them next time. So in the back of your book, you can have an opt-in offer. You can get people to come back to your website. You want to be building your own platform. You don't want to sign with a publishing contract or a publishing company and then just let them do everything, because you won't be building your own platform and you won't have any power to market your own books, which you're going to need if you want to be successful as an author. However, in this case, she says that she's signing with a small publishing house that has limited resources, and they're not going to do her cover art, her marketing, or soliciting book reviews. I don't know why you would sign a contract like that. You're giving up a big chunk of your earnings for nothing that I can see. I mean, what's the publishing house going to do for you? So you've got to think about that, what the publishing house is going to do for you, and then you want to make sure that any marketing, any book sales, they're all going into your funnel to build your platform that you have control over, your website, your email list, your social media profiles, because otherwise they're just building up the publisher's business, and you will be in a weaker position in a couple of years down the line when you have another book and you still can't do anything by yourself. So, but I'd also be very careful about the smaller publishing houses. A lot of them, they say they're small presses, but they're actually author vanity services. If they're charging you up front to publish the book, then it's not really a publishing contract, because you're paying them for the services you need to publishing the book. You're paying them for editing, for book design, for book formatting, for uploading those things to your website and to Amazon, maybe for building you an author website, maybe for doing some secretarial work like outreach or soliciting reviews. You're paying for those services, and they also want a percentage of your book sales down the road. And in that case, you're paying way too much, and you're unlikely to have quality work done because those businesses make money by charging more and outsourcing the work to other companies. And they're not necessarily invested in helping you succeed because their business is getting money from authors to help them publish their books. Their business is not co-sharing the earnings of the book sales. For example, if I'm one of the projects I will probably start in the future is a publishing company where I split everything with the authors, but I don't charge them any money because I will do all the work. I will do all the book design. I'll do the editing. I'll do the website. I'll do the book promotion, the marketing. I'll do everything with all these skills that I have, and they're very valuable skills, but I wouldn't do it for every book because in that business model, that only makes sense. I'm giving up all this time and money of my own. It only makes sense if that book is going to be a bestseller and I'm going to earn 50% of the revenue. If it sells 10,000 copies, I'll make my money back. If it sells 20 or 30,000 copies, I'll start to see an earning. So that kind of business model, I would only accept books that I'm sure I can sell 100,000 copies. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth my time. But that's very different from these small presses who their business model is earning $5,000 from authors to publish their book, and then they want to be down and take on more authors. They're not really worried about sales down the line. So their business model is to get 1,000 authors a month and to just crank up their production, which means outsourcing lots of the work, hiring a lot of virtual assistants to do a lot of things quickly. They're in the project management space, and they're helping all these authors to produce their books, but they're not in the book marketing space. They probably can't help you build your platform or do smart book marketing or to really hit that bestseller status that you want. So I wouldn't sign with a small press. And I know a lot of authors who sign with small presses and then they come to me anyway, even though they paid for marketing or book design, and they hire me for marketing and book design because all they're really paying the small press for is the project management, but they didn't do a good job of any of the production. So they have to hire me for book design and marketing to make the book successful. And in that case, they shouldn't have gone with the small press at all. They should have just learned a little bit how to do publishing, about the publishing world. It's not that hard. You have to make a few accounts and get your files made and upload those files to KDP or CreateSpace or Smashwords or another book distribution site. There's not that much to figure out. It's certainly not worth working with a small press unless perhaps you have a lot of books and you work with a small press because they're going to answer all your questions. Like if someone hires me for book cover design, I also become their writing coach and I'll teach them everything about the publishing world so that hopefully by the time they finish their first book and I've designed their cover, they've also learned a lot about how to publish books so that next time they'll need less help. And so that's kind of one thing that I try to provide value to my clients. But you're always starting from zero. There's always a lot to learn. In the first round, if you have one book, it's probably easier to pay for help. But you want to make sure that you're also developing the skills you need and you're also developing your own author platform so that you are growing as a writer so that when you write more books, everything is much easier. You don't want to just give responsibility away by paying somebody else to do it because it's almost never going to work out in your favor. Okay? Thanks. The next question is how not to be nervous talking with agents and marketing industry professionals, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to stop this video here and then start a new one. Thanks. Bye-bye.